Welcome, welcome to my lovely IHP community and the 5D collective. As we were chit-chatting in our shorts in the last couple days, we have the capacity to anchor in that ventral energy so that we can be that which the world needs more of. And so you can dance the dance of true love, which does not come in with broken faith in humanity and low frequency. You also know how to navigate emotions and thoughts easily in this lovely 5D frequency. If you're new, what is a 5D frequency? Well, we use words in a lot of different ways, but essentially it's you gonna love the oxytocin gene hormone because you're securely attached, non-traumatized. So you know how to self-regulate your nervous system. No words, left doesn't need to be used. We have a right, okay? And that's the part. You aspire to be yourself, anchored in ventral energy, and then you will be what the world needs more of. Who the world needs more of? Yes, at least for those of us who are of our Dharma community. And it's not a race because we all have karma. The difference is those of us who do Dharma are able to have a left and a right work together. And so we aspire to be ourself, anchored in ventral energy, whether we know it or not. Some people don't use these words. I didn't use a lot of words as I was growing up. And I already had mindset skills and mindfulness practices in the forefront because of that inner growth mindset that you know all about. There's the main modules on the Inspiring Human Potential website if you're curious. Okay, so let's get into some messages. Today's another beautiful day. So we have no expectations when we're navigating life as our true self in love. And that is also why when you meet the empowered masculine, empowered feminine, you'll know, because empowered is only when an individual owns their prefrontal, and then they will be able to have what is called an inner conversation versus an inner critic, outer critic. And then that temporal junction stuff, which is where those who have their feelings disconnected, anger, sadness, disgust, joy, they need Patrick Tan. Those of us who instead we have our emotions not disconnected. So here's the 13-year-old Maria that shares, I'm happy when I'm with my friends. I'm also happy with my family. I'm sad when I get hurt or disappointed by something that a friend or family member of mine does that I don't expect. I learned how not to have those expectations, with my higher self staying in the lead. Why? Because I am a person who can be in my prefrontal, and the people who don't believe it, they continue to think I'm traumatized, and they also don't know that we all have trauma charges, but sadness actually releases them. But it only is going to be released if you are anchored in your ventral energy. Otherwise, you're just re-traumatizing yourself and playing karma on a wheel. Now, when people like their story, they don't know that their story is keeping them away from noticing, from the physiological response. So that's where Stephen Porges, Pat Ogden is great for EMDR, child parts work, and somatics or sensory motor. And people who think that they can snap and do it by themselves are the same people that I disregard because they're all adaptive child part. And you'll notice it if you are a securely attached, non-traumatized, self-empowered, enlightening, functional child adult. That's what I am. So, mentor, content creator, podcast host for people who want to hear about how amazing it is to inspire your infinite higher human conscious potential and how it is for me to live it, and for you to notice how easy it is for somebody to tell you, I don't have envy, jealousy, or spite. Those are insecure emotions. Even before the polyamory community came along, I was in a state of compersion for anyone, because otherwise, why would I say I love you if I don't want to see you happy? Happy. Doesn't matter what you bring to me. If you're unkind or sneaky, it's you who has fear, not the other way around. So cowards are bastards, yeah, but not in the way of a person who's wounded. I'm not a wounded child. I'm not an adaptive child. I'm a functional adult. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. The hierarchy is this. The social engagement features, meaning prosody, facial expressivity, gesture within a quiet, safe environment. Thank you, Stephen Porges, which is what my body is with all of those 6 basic human emotions. And that's why the inner growth mindset was consistently something I applied, and neutrality and duality. When you have a functional adult, what you will have is a person who makes thoughtful decisions without needing to reveal. So we know how to be mature, thoughtful, nuanced, and forgiving. I learned that from Jesus, by the way, but also you all know about my teenage boyfriend stories. So the forgiving isn't, I forgave. By the time I'm 19, I just said, hey, God, no Lucifer, cowards, yes. I don't know. They don't know how to tell me the truth. So I, as a mystic, also knew, by the way, when I got clairs, that I came from the future, because I have fun with my other mystic friends. But today, when I think about it, I'm like, wow, that's amazing. I did know about where we would be at right about now. I just didn't think 3D, 4D would stick to their ignorance. But adaptive child people, they are a child's version of an adult, and that developed to protect a wounded child. So they all project and don't go reparent with Patrick Tan. So they're all using their traumatized brain. And that's why when you meet the individuals who are not a Jacob personality type, as I'm going to name it, which is where you don't do internally or externally, and this is from a rabbi that I got these personality types, the ones who instead do internally or externally, we won't talk, but they're the adaptive child, perfectionistic, harsh, unforgiving. They see the world in black and white. They flip a switch. They say yoga brings demons out of you after having a bad experience because they don't take ownership of their nervous system. And so with that, again, the functional adult, we are instead based in the present because we know how to use our prefrontal cortex. It's also why Determined, Robert Sapolsky's book, he says we have no free will. I haven't read it. I say you do, because if you own the sense of self, all of you, which is why when somebody says you don't have a self, yes, I do. Use your human name and then have them all, your child parts, asleep. And if they come up, you'll notice not the story, the physiological response. So, am I being reactive? I know how to be a higher self. I'm not reactive. And when I have been, I'm not like, wow, you did great. I'm like, okay, I'm so sorry. Based in the present, understands imperfection and ambiguity, makes sense of trauma and its impact on relationships, is adaptable. Unlike the child parts, the functional adult can learn and use new skills because we're using self-awareness, accountability, and regulation skills on purpose. Now, being yourself, anchored in ventral energy, is this, and it's not hard. It is something you will enjoy doing unless you're like, resiliency, what does it even mean? I have to do emotions. That's a person who could use some more Patrick Tihan or Terreal, because what are you doing? You have two options. It's either neutrality and duality so that you can navigate the effective realism. No, it won't be effective realism. The thoughts and feelings, which are not real, which is your subjective experience, which involves sensations, images, feelings, thoughts, or sensations, images, behaviors, affects, meanings. So I have a grown-up in the room who's going to become unknown, unexpected, unwanted, on everything, open heart, flow state. Easy peasy? Yes, because you don't whine about it every time it happens. What? Life, unknowns, unexpected. I mean, really, God gave you 2 hands, 2 feet. Thank you, God. So when I hear people, I forgave, I'm like, no, you didn't. I can tell from the tone in your voice, but you don't hear a tone because you want me to pat you on the back and say, wow, blamer, martyr superior, I'm so sorry for you. No, I'm not. That's disrespectful towards a lot of things, but really it's, why would I have pity on you? I mean, life happens. Again, prefrontal cortex is, I will be a person who can hear you with my prefrontal, have compassion, not empathize, because I know how to be present. So I'm using my prefrontal cortex. I take in the information you tell me, and I notice, what can I do? And then really what I notice is sometimes you'll say, you know what, you shouldn't talk, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. They don't even know how you're supposed, no, they want to tell you how to support them or how not to support them. So again, when you're emotionally independent, and that's because you're mentally independent, because you're physically independent, you're being yourself, anchored in ventral energy. So you don't have expectations from people. You have a higher self. I accept and respect all of who you are. Whatever you bring to me, it won't matter because I will have consciously chose a relationship with you. And so with that, I can get hurt or disappointed by something that a friend or family member of mine does that I don't expect as a 13-year-old, not as a grown-up. People say that's change. No, I matured is how I'm going to put it. And people want to keep on, but you changed. No, because I never would have wanted to stay in an immature. So again, we can pick out words if we wanted to. The point though is that you being able to notice that things evolve as you grow up because you will feel differently. So I don't have expectations of people because I grew to be good with imperfections and ambiguity. As a functional inner child adult, I have fun. I don't have resentment. But I'll talk about events and people will then say, but see, you're still talking about it. So people who use the mouth don't notice that's part of an equation. You want to know that the heart and the feelings and the nervous system, okay? So the ventral energy is anchored in when you have securely attached non-traumatized person who self-regulates, which means I'm my own safe haven, secure base. I can make it all better because my 0-1-year-old isn't unattached, panicky. And that doesn't mean yay or not yay. You do it, like with the panic attacks. That's where when I see people complaining on Nutshell Ladies platform, I'm like, what are you doing? But that's an adaptive child part. That's a person who's suffering life. And so with that being said, as we close on out, when people lie to me, I get very, very angry. Anger is about correction. I learned how not to do anything about fake people because my facade friend and attachment trauma educators let me know what adaptive child part people are. Half a brain, they are codependent. They don't know that their child parts are all over the place and they don't care to. So if you lack self-aware, accountable, regulating people in your life, you'll know how to handle them like Pacha handles Cusco, and that's why we don't do they're mine. No, they're not mine. I will have accepted, respected, and welcomed anyone because I'm imperfect and flawed. So again, acceptance for real as empowerment for real means whether mystic, spiritual, or mindful, living, loving person, you are securely attached and untraumatized, and that's how you're going to be yourself. And that's because you own the sense of self and you own your physiological response, which means you own your brain, which means it's integrated. And it also means that you understand the process of integration. Not that there's a shortcut, because there is none. Even if you do things on your own at home, that's not how actively I've seen people completely make justification. They're still toxic in their relationships, not with me, because for me, you're not unsafe when you are being Cusco. You're simply being your 0 8-year-old, and I feel, no, I can't disrespect anyone. God keeps telling me not to judge human suffering. Oh, and it's not about it being bad or good. It's don't waste my fucking time, but I don't actively do any of this because, again, I have no expectations. I learned that people, they're going to lie, like my facade friend. They're going to stay in their little low frequency, and it's not a Lucifer or an energy vampire dark aura. It's simply a biologically rude person who needs Tyrael or Patrick Tian, Pat Ogden, Bezel van der Kolk. There's a solution. They don't want it. They don't want to self-regulate in their ventral vagal state and therefore be socially engaged and love to be alive in their body. They don't want to get out of their unhealthy self-soothing mechanisms and their patterns, and they want the story of how they're a special group, like the flat earthers do. And with that, when someone comes over that I haven't seen in a while, or if I have to do something important like a performance, I get really excited. And I also get excited, and I'll leave that one out of the picture. But at the end of the day, we will be back with potentially more. Today's a very beautiful day. And let's close out with our lovely Sadhguru. We all have the potential to live in blissfulness and inner well-being if only we create the right kind of climate within ourselves. And that means, yes, to be able to be mindfully aware of yourself with mindset skills. Sifting sensations, images, feelings, thoughts. You can only do that focusing attention and then being in the awareness when you can contain and be aware of what sensations, images, behaviors, affects, meanings are. And your child parts are not wounded or ruptured. So you don't have a trauma charge that you are going to get and say, that's a bitch. Now, people who want to do that, that's a bitch, with the same energy of envy, jealousy, spite, self-loathing, gut wrench, torn apart, I can say that's a bitch too. Difference is I will be making an expression, I will allow my emotion to come forth, and I will have a reasonable conversation, and I will not be casting a stone because that would be completely inappropriate as a person of faith. I'm not of science alone. I am with God, and God told me, as he's told anybody else, or divine, however you want to put it, Jesus, Holy Spirit, God, take me as I am. I am crooked, I am a sinner, but I will not be bowing down and over to someone who doesn't actively live with an open heart and an open mind and know about forgiveness, turning the other cheek. Blessed are those who believe without seeing, and that the kingdom of God is within every person, so that all my brothers and sisters have the opportunity to become that which is their inner world, and that I am a person, therefore I will not cast a stone. And any person who talks to me about God and then cast a stone, I raise my hands. Again, I already know, mind your own business. As for science, we have Robert Sapolsky with Determined, who tells you have no free will, and then there's plenty more who tell you can instead get healed and get that earned secure attachment. So you have options: opportunity, love, fear. I know which one I meet. When I meet love, we're going to have a good time, and that's who's going to be here at IHP, because I don't pat people on the back. And the fearful ones don't like it. They never did, they never will, and they won't, and I'm okay with that, because I ain't looking for this. I'm Maria. And I get to say I still do not like when people lie to me. And like my facade friend showed me, and anybody else who has insecurity, they will not tell you the truth because they don't know what they want. because they're not a self-aware, accountable, regulating nervous system. And they got a story going on, and then they're cowards and they don't even know how to have a very enticing and interesting conversation. So I don't do anything with people who don't know how to expand. What I can tell you is the beauty of the empowered feminine and the empowered masculine is that there's a complementary, we might talk about that one, of where there is capacity to expand beyond and in ways that are amazing. From an intelligence perspective, intellectually, emotionally, and physically, again, self-regulation in the ventral vagal state, it's amazing. Be yourself is amazing. Mindfulness practices, mindset skills, mentor, content creator, podcast host. If you want anything about mentorship, reach out. If you want to sign up for our masterclass, reach out. If you want to sign up for future workshops, retreats, sign up, email. And then we have the inspiringhumanpotential.com, the main website, for you to see the main modules of the Inner Growth Mindset program. Very basic. And thank you for stopping by. Like, share, and subscribe. It'll help the channel grow. And I might see you later, alligators.